Hello from the city of London, coming at you with a midnight podcast, my first one, which is crazy, but I just wanted to rant about something that sometimes keeps me up at night, like now. But basically, perfectionism. Let's perfectionism, okay? For most of my life, for all of my life, I've been a perfectionist, and I used to think it was such a great thing. I was like, oh my god, like, I love that I'm this way, and I love that I have such high standards, which, don't get me wrong, I don't think perfectionism is entirely synonymous with high standards, but the element of high standards, like, I've always really liked, like, I think it's gotten me very far, like, I'm grateful for that. But when I'm kept up at night thinking about things and doubting, like, oh my god, I could have done this or I could have done that, just like dwelling on what I didn't do and like time wasted or energy wasted or opportunities wasted, that's when it can be a bit like, like nothing, like I never feel satisfied or I don't feel like I've done enough, and sometimes it's hard to feel proud of myself. I've had a long journey with it, and honestly, like, I literally just saw a post on, I saw Ali Abdal uploaded a new video where he's like, my true message to perfectionists or something like that, and the cover was like him holding a sign that says mediocrity over perfectionism, and that just had me thinking a bit. I'm like, you know what, like, a lot of the time just getting something done, even if it's not to the highest standard, has been like necessary, even like when it's come to certain applications where the deadline was super soon, but at the same time I think of it and I'm like, but no, like with other things where I was a perfectionist, I genuinely think that's what got me to the next stage. For example, like some senior roles that I had at school, and then there's the whole like domino effect, which having those roles then led me to something else. But at the same time I feel like you can't be too much of a control freak with it. That's why I try and live by the saying that, like, just do your best and let God do the rest, or, do your best and have faith that the rest will work out, depending on what you believe in. But I trust that. And obviously the thing is with that saying, it's like, okay, what define do your best? What does do your best actually mean? But do your best without sacrificing your mental stability, let's say, because you don't want to burn out, and you don't want to risk that. You don't want to risk your health. It's not good for you. It's not healthy, Yeah, like, sure, there's times that I've made sacrifices and people make sacrifices. Sometimes you have to, sometimes you don't have a choice, like, it depends, like, what kind of situation you're in. People have like financial situations where they have to make certain sacrifices that cost them certain parts of their health, and it's really unfortunate, obviously, so if you are privileged enough to maybe manage your time better so that you don't lead to situations where you have to sacrifice your health or like your sleep and so on and so forth, then do your best to do that. That's why I think also time management is a skill that accommodates to perfectionists, or at least people like myself. It's weird because I felt like I was once a procrastinator, but then I became a precrastinator, where I would get so anxious if I don't start things so much ahead of time. I think that was a very present thing for me during my IB stage when I was doing the IB, because I just wanted to start everything so early. But then there's also benefits that come with like waiting a little bit, and because then you might arguably like waste time doing things less efficiently if you hadn't waited to discover waited to get taught the proper way to do it. I don't know, there's just so much you can argue, and this is something I feel like I could talk about for hours, because the world of perfectionism is just crazy. And like, I say all of this, yet I'm still willing to, like, I'm still a perfectionist at heart, and I'm still willing to like pull an all-nighter to do something to really deliver my best quality. And I think it's that intention that's so important, that is what perfectionism, what's underlying perfectionism, and what it's rooted in essentially. So that's why I think solutions like time management and like distributing tasks, or when you can, distributing things so that you can work on it in a way where you can still deliver your high quality in a way that doesn't involve you sacrificing so much, can be great. But obviously life is uncertain and unexpected things happen, and like sometimes you just have to just sit there and like grind something out, or get it done. But I think those opportunities, like, obviously it's very dependent on the context, but if it doesn't involve something that's entirely horrible for your health, then like I think it's worth sometimes staying up later, disciplining yourself to get something done. I think can be very valuable, like with certain applications or experiences, I don't know, an extracurricular, whatever it is you're doing, a side hustle, a business. I think pushing through is important, but at the same time, like, it's just also dependent on the situation, isn't it? Because like I was saying earlier, sometimes just getting things done has benefited me more than if I had just tried to perfect. But I guess maybe that's also maybe that's because of procrastination, where sometimes wanting to make things perfect stops or hinders me from starting. So overall it is just really, really dependent. But the reason I'm talking about this now is because I'm just thinking about some things that I had planned to work on last year, and that I did work on, but not in the exact way that I expected, or I didn't entirely fulfill my expectations. And it's weird because everyone has different standards, right? Like if I told some people about this, they'd be like, oh my god, Sims, what are you talking about? Like, what you did was great. And then maybe if I talk to some other people, they'd be like, I see, like, why you're upset, like everyone has a different thought and perspective with regards to these types of goals and expectations. But I'm not satisfied with what I did in regards to those goals. And I don't know, I guess I started the podcast by saying that it's when I'm kept up with this doubt and guilt, or like annoyance towards myself, that like I don't like being a perfectionist. But you know what, at the same time I'm like, no, I do like that I am like this way. So I guess this rant has been a reflection that has made me grateful for the way my brain works. But I don't know, everything is ever changing, and you always learn and you grow and you learn more about yourself, you discover more about you every day. And that's why I find like ranting to myself through podcast episodes like this is amazing. And I don't know if people can relate, but if I was to give a sort of message behind all this, would be just do your best and let God do the rest, because that is the best way to put it. And interpret it as you will, take it as you will, give yourself, I think also accommodate to yourself and what suits you best, because everyone has different ways of working. Like, I know people who just literally have to switch off after when it gets to nighttime, like they cannot work really well. And then I know other people who perform best peak productivity at the strangest times. And I feel like with me, I always say like I'm a morning person but also a night person, so basically I'm sleep deprived. But that's not healthy. I don't encourage not sleeping. Don't do that, because I could probably be more efficient if I was on good sleep, and I worked at a certain time. And I do that. I do. It's just sometimes I end up a little bit sleep deprived. I'm not always sleep deprived. I'm just, when I have a lot on my plate, which is a lot of the time, when I'm a busy bee, which is literally all the time, it can often lead to extents where I have to sacrifice on sleep a bit, but I always make sure to catch up. I don't want that sleep debt to get too high. But yeah, I hope this gave you some sort of serotonin. Let's go sleep. Let's be proud of ourselves. It's important to acknowledge your accomplishments. And yeah, good night. a lovely weekend. Hold on. Something I really want to add to, okay, literally with podcasts and like certain projects, I've always wanted to start random fun ideas I've always had that I've wanted to initiate. I've literally not done because I'm like, no, but it has to be perfect. So I'm not going to do it now because I need to wait till there's a time in my life where I can actually create the vision in my head. But even including this podcast, but then you know what? I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, if I wait for when I can make it perfect, it's never gonna happen. Or it's gonna happen in ages because I'm a busy bee, like I said, and I have so much I try to juggle. So instead I'm just doing these random pods where I just kind of improvise on the spot. And it's just random blurts of my thoughts, you know? But something I think, so again with that, there's like the pros and cons, and there's the cons that sometimes I feel like I have a very crucial thing I want to mention that I don't remember to mention in the moment. But what I do want to add for sure is that, like, I didn't want to post this without saying this, but I think it's really important to trust also in God's plan, and that, like, if you were meant to do something, then you would have, you know? Like, obviously we learn from mistakes, but also, like, I believe in the saying that things are maktub, like, things are written out for you. So if I was meant to have done a certain project or meant to fulfill a certain goal in a certain way last year, then I would have. Maybe I didn't because doing it now or doing it in a different way now or even not doing it at all led me to something else that was better for me and my destiny. So just trust in what's meant for you, because what's meant to be will be, and everything happens for a reason. And that's a positive end to this. Good night.